This might just be the most comprehensive, borderline obsessive list of all things your plants secretly despise and wish you'd finally stop doing.
It's the ultimate guide to every tiny habit that holds them back. If you've ever wondered why your plant gives you attitude for no apparent reason, chances are the answer is somewhere on this list.
Try not to let your plants get too hairy. And I don't mean on the legs before anyone panics. I'm talking about that wild, scruffy top growth.
Old foliage needs trimming just like the split ends of your own hair. If you have hair, of course. If you don't, then I relate on a spiritual level.
And don't be shy about it either. If something looks tatty, then lop it off. Plants really don't complain about getting a short back and sides. They grow back, unlike this particular top growth, of course. Take this satin pothos for example. This guy had such a mop that it was touching the floor all the way from up there. I cut it right back and, well, we're back at square one. Water one tiny of the root ball at a time and you'll likely have a full-blown mutiny on your hands.
And that's not a pretty look, trust me. You get disdain from everyone that witnesses it, including the plants themselves.
Anyway, it's one of the reasons I switched to bottom watering all those many moons ago. Water wicks up and everything gets a nice even drink.
But I know lots of us still water the old school way, including myself when I'm in a rush, but the important thing to remember is to try and soak everything as much as possible.
None of this sprinkle and hope approach. You will have a hard time if you've left it a bit too long and the soil's gone hydrophobic, in which case you really do have to keep pouring until it finally gives in and starts absorbing water again. Water like a princess and half the roots won't get their weekly drink. And that, let me tell you, makes for very grumpy plants. Dead leaves and the dirty ground when I know you're not around. That's what your green friend is thinking if you're not paying attention and cleaning up the soil line from time to time.
They're like, why are you still not picking up this trash from my doorstep? And you're probably like, because it's your trash and so you pick it up. And he's like, well, I've not got any arms or legs. And you're like, oh yeah, well, I'll do it next month.
Sound familiar? No, I didn't think so. The point is, clean it up for him. He'll get clammy, mouldy feet otherwise, and we don't want that smell in the house. You would have heard and read lots of times that we should rotate our plants weekly to make sure our plants grow evenly and continue to look beautiful in our homes. I've said it myself in this channel plenty of times.
But this just isn't the case in so many plants. And in many cases, we should just leave our plants alone to grow and face in one direction only. The Monstera deliciosa, for example, tends to have a distinct back and front end.
The back of the plant is where the aerial roots live, and then the front is where the leaves are, facing towards the light. It absolutely looks its best when left to face in one direction towards the light. Rotate it every week, and you tend to get crooked leaves that face upside down, left and right, and anywhere but straight. Look, compare this awkward looking specimen to the Monstera in my conservatory, and you really can see the benefits of leaving things alone.
This approach tends to work best for vining type plants like Monstera, Pothos or Philodendron, especially if you have them growing up a stake or a moss bowl.
Even this bushy Pothos doesn't get touched.
I used to do this up until recently, but now I think it's something that my plants hate me for.
You have a plant that needs repotting and you choose a pot that is only one size bigger like a good boy or girl. Fast forward a month and your Monstera is all tied up in knots again.
Plants need room to spread their legs. They don't want to be all squashed up like they're on a Ryanair flight.
Obviously don't go massive because that can end in carnage, but forget the one size bigger rule. A decent amount of soil means good water and nutrient uptake. Your plants are probably looking at you setting up pebble trays with water thinking, just what is this fool doing? I don't want to be sat in a cold puddle all day every day. Get me the hell out of here.
You see, they're just not as bothered about high humidity as you are. Sorry to break it to you.
I know it feels great helicoptering over our plants because it feels like you're actually doing something rather than being so passive, but it just doesn't do them any favours, or you for that matter.
I'd much rather just be left in peace somewhere warm and bright to just get on with their day. You're much better off working with what you've got and not fighting against it.
And a hygrometer will help here. If your humidity is below 20%, then I wouldn't even bother trying to keep a califer happy. It's a fool's errand. I did a root pruning video a couple of years ago and the reaction to it fell broadly into two camps.
It was either, well, duh dummy, bonsai growers have been doing this since the Big Bang, or that's the best thing I've seen since sliced bread, or the Beatles, or K-pop demon hunters.
I was late to the party with root pruning, but these days I love nothing more than hacking up my plant's private parts left, right and centre. If you've not tried it yet, then you're missing out, and so is your little green pal. They don't like mouldy toes, and cutting out anything that is tired or rotting does the world a good. It is counterintuitive, I know, but do give it a try.
A few of my plants down tools because I put them in unglazed terracotta pots.
And I know, some plants do great in terracotta pots, yep. Succulents and cacti, yep, I know. Your standard houseplants like philodendron, alocasia and pothos on the other hand, not so much.
The pots are far too porous and you'll be able to water them every half hour. Not literally, don't take that literally.
If you do love the look of terracotta, like I do, then glaze them first. It stops your plant dying and stops your wood rotting too. Happy days. It's not really a good idea to get all touchy-feely, particularly with your plants. They hate it.
The main reason is because you're more likely to knock off leaves and branches. The other reason is the oil in your fingers transfer into the foliage. Alright, well that one might be a bit of a stretch, but it does apply to succulents.
Succulents don't like fingers all up in their grill, especially ones with farina on the leaves. It's just going to rub off when you fat finger them and make them more prone to rot. You'll see the scars of this in the shops with the coating pretty much all rubbed off by all too eager shoppers. Oh, the humanity.
But Richard, how are you supposed to clean them without touching them?
For regular plants you can simply give them a shower. I like taking them outside and giving them a good hose down. They come out brand new, it's great. For succulents, my favourite tool is this little blower that is used for camera lenses. And for the big stuff at the bottom, get yourself some nice long tweezers.
Plants are intermittent fasters. They skip breakfast, lunch and dinner for 3 weeks and then feast on the 4th week.
Fast for longer and they lose weight and become off colour, but break the fast early and they get heavy around the belly.
How long can I stretch this analogy out for?
Look, just feed your plant based on what the bottle or packet says, nothing more, nothing less. They might look like they want more, but the signs of starvation and opulence are the same. That's yellow leaves, by the way.
The real danger is in forgetting to fertilise for a few months and in giving a double dose when you finally remember, which is most definitely something that I've never done.
So plants love light, right? And where's the best light? Well, windows of course. Bear with me on this. Now where's the biggest drafts? Windows of course.
You know what that means, don't you? We put radiators underneath windows to combat this.
And you know what this unfortunately means, don't you? That said window is the worst place for any plant. Dry, hot air twice a day will turn yours into the Grinch.
I'll stop short of calling plants xenophobes, but they're not really a fan of outsiders muscling on their patch trying to call all the shots. I mean, who knows what kind of disease and pest newbies bring in, spreading germs all over the place.
Yeah, they're germaphobes. It's weird because once they get to know each other, they seem to get on like a house on fire. But it's best to keep new arrivals separate from the rest of the family to stop any fights breaking out and to not allow any unwanted visitors jumping from ship to ship. That can bring a whole ship to its knees. Very costly. This does come up in my plant troubleshooting handbook that you can nab for free in the description. It's a lifesaver to have on your phone when something ugly rears its head.
Tens of thousands of planty folk have got their copy, so don't miss out.
You see this quite often as a cheeky little hack to water your orchids as well as other houseplants, but I've absolutely no idea why anyone would do this.
I guess the idea is to combat the evils of overwatering, every plant parent's greatest fear.
You know, the ice cube slowly melts and this somehow prevents the roots from getting too wet all at once. But this is not doing anything any good. We've already mentioned that we have to drench the sucker to get everything nice and saturated, and not to do so again until he actually needs it.
The thing about all this ice malarkey is that I have no real idea how much water I'm actually giving it. So there's actually a big risk of underwatering. So don't bother, I see no advantage.
I'll be the first to admit that I'm a bit of a lazy so-and-so, and my green buddies are normally the first to suffer the consequences.
And there's one thing that I do all too often that risks bringing down my entire collection, and it's all to do with pots.
You see, I do try to be the loving plant parent of their dreams and repot when they need it.
My usual repotting routine is fairly simple. Grab a plant, pull its trousers down, find a pot from the cupboard or garden, and repot him into a bigger space. Simples.
Now the problem is in the pot that I normally grab from the cupboard or garden. It's pretty much always a crusty old pot from the last plant I repotted that I've not yet given a wash, which is not good. I really do need to get in the habit of washing my pots before reusing them.
The problem is there are tons of bacteria in the soil of our green buddies. Most of it is good of course, but sometimes it's bad. Root rot bad. And if we don't wash our pots, that bad root rotting bacteria can easily transfer to the plant that we're repotting.
This can bring down a collection in no time, especially if we're doing a bunch of repotting at the same time. Something that I quickly realised when my plant collection got to obsessive levels was that potting them up into compost or soil is not really a good idea. Compost might be great out in the garden, but it's really not the same indoors.
There's a whole bunch of problems that we run into that I explain in this video here, so make sure you watch it next.